What are you doing at the minute?
I'm actually...
But isn't that the question of that foot not coming further than that?
Young Edmond was about to have the most amazing adventure he'd ever dreamed of.
This is a mess. This is a mess. We've made a big mud mess, is what we've done here. We're trying to shoot a picture, I think. It's going to be part of an animated film, but we have a live-action section of it where this little family that lives out in the Midwest of Tennessee, they have a big rainstorm, floods their place out and makes this big mud pie that you see here, and eventually it covers up their house. And their little son, he knows that what he has to do to stop this flood is he has to go get the big rooster called Chanticleer and bring him home, and he'll crow, and that'll bring up the sun, and it'll dry up all this rain. So that's what all this mess is about.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Get him away from the lid.
All right, you guys. We've rested long enough. They're counting on us back at the farm.
Working with children, you have to have all the patience in the whole world. But on this picture, we had a little boy who was he was super to work with. And he had a very cooperative mom. And when we got on the set, of course, we just had a good time.
What if it grabs me? What would you do?
Well, if it grabs you, you know what I'll do is I'll get in there and I'll beat the owl up and I'll get you out of there.
But I'll still be hurt.
No, you won't. I promise he can't get you. My first introduction to going out onto the live action stage and directing the actors themselves. And I did it for the first time on this picture. I thought, well, this will be interesting. I wonder if I'll like this. Maybe I'll just leave animation and just go into the live action world and forget all about this graphics. Well, my first day on the stage, I came running back here and I said, no way. I am an animator through and through, and I love being on the board, and I love drawing where I can have complete control of what I do. It's just too much, I think, waiting around. The control isn't there, and if I don't like a performance, I have to say, well, let's do it again, and 50 people have to concentrate one more time. If I don't like a performance on the board here, all I simply do is get out my eraser and erase it and draw it one more time. So the difference for me is very, very large. I prefer to draw it.
Frank Stanislavski.
Right, okay.
Van Nuys, he owns a little
He always got a van as well.
Glenn, can you get a little bit more jovial on that line? Just a little bit more up.
Not many people know this, but we always record the voices before we do the animation. And there's a very good reason. It gives the actors a chance to bring their expertise to the screen, to the character, and it also gives our animators a chance to hear something of the acting. Because we're so concerned with drawing many times that we say, you know, I don't know how to do anything but draw. I need somebody to tell me what a personality is like. And an actor has more expertise in that area. So we begin with the voices.
I picked him up out of the gutter, and now look at it.
Chanticleer was the name of the book, but Don didn't want to do it just like the old fairy tale. He wanted to give it a new twist, and we were thinking of Chanticleer being something different than just a rooster that raises the sun when he crows. So we knocked around this idea and came up with maybe this rooster could also be a great singer, and we were wondering who was one of the best singers to ever live, and that's when we came up with the persona of Elvis Presley.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pinky's Palace proudly presents The King!
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you look at that?
Chanticleer?
Well, down into the low, I was so alone. I never had no money, I had no honey to call my own. That's why I'm treasure hunting, treasure hunting for my love. He's treasure hunting for his love. Well, I've been everywhere.
I think that animated films basically are musical in nature. So it's only a tiny step to say, let's put songs into the picture. All of the great Disney pictures that I've enjoyed over the years all were filled with songs. Zippity-doo-dah, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, Hi Diddly-Dee, Whistle While You Work, you know, all these are great tunes. I mean, in Pinocchio, almost every tune became a hit song. So I think animation and hit songs go together. Therefore, I think when we started doing this picture, we said, how can we do a picture about a rooster who thinks he's Elvis Presley unless we get really involved in music? So that said, the only other question to answer was, how good is the music going to be? And we know it's going to be some really nice songs, because the old Elvis style of music was something that touched all of us. So it was a natural step to say, the picture's going to bounce visually, let's let it bounce musically. And what my desire is that as you sit in your seat, I want your foot to tap. And if your foot starts tapping while you're watching the picture, then I've got you.
What I'd like you to do is do that picking thing that you do, and then go on to do the cock-a-doo what a day.
Okay. Cock-a-doo what a day. The sun is shining brightly. Cock-a-doo what a day. Oh, hi, Edmond. I just stopped by to say hello and to thank you for helping me out back there.
And then Edmond goes, Chanticleer! And then you do the second part where you do the sun do shine.
Okay. The sun do shine. Hey, that was real brave of you standing up against the Duke like you did. I really appreciate it.
And then Patoo's going to pop in the window and go, hi, little buddy. And Edmond goes, Jeepers, it's good to see you. And then you're going to say, come on, you two.
Okay. Well, come on, you two. Well, come on, you two.
That's good.
Don heard a song off one of my albums, an old Johnny Mercer song called I Remember You, where I yodel in it. And that's what he wanted for the character, and that helped to get the part. Because these things are, I think it's really fun to do animation. That way it doesn't grow old, you know. The character is always the same. Like Mickey Mouse looks the same way he did 50 years ago, you know.
Now see, what she's doing right there, she's puddling the paint. Instead of painting it, because if you paint it, you show the brush strokes.
Yeah.
Underneath there's a light coming through, and if you can see the light through the paint, that means
That means you brush stroke.
Yeah, and it's not going on thick enough. A lot of times when this paint is dry, we'll turn the cell back over on the other side, and then you'll see all the lines outlining the colors. And if she's done it correctly, you'll see not even a little bubble of paint, which would let the light through. It'll all look just smooth. And if you put a lot of water in the paint, what'll happen is this will puddle, so it's just like black glass, just very smooth. And when it dries, it's very smooth, just as smooth as that cell.
No kidding.
And if you get it too thick, of course, and you paint it or stroke it on, it's just a bunch of bumps. And that's
It is actually watercolor, though, type.
Yeah, it's vinyl paint, house painting.
No kidding.
Only a lot more pigment in it.
Yeah.
In animation, once the music is recorded, then it goes to the storyboard artist. And then he listens to the song and tries to visualize what the song means and puts it up there on the screen in his own mind's eye. I don't have any control of the music once the animators start animating to it, because I can't say, gee, I'd like to change this, because then they'd have to go back and redraw all those drawings of these critters speaking certain lines that I want to change. So once I'm done with it and I give it to them, then it's over for as far as what I need to do with it.
All right, we got two things to accomplish in this sequence. One, to show where the owl lives and the fact that he is causing the rain, and what is the device that's causing the rain. So within all this swirling, we'll have the rain just pouring out of that area as opposed to in the opened area. So it won't be raining everywhere, just out of the clouds. So let's start over here with raindrops. As we pan, we see the valley is totally flooded, and we'll arrive on the owl's den. Now there's music cues that are going to give us that. Now listen. One. We should arrive here. We
have a character in this play that to me is very exciting. He's what we call the creature of the night. And this creature is an owl. He hates light, and so he doesn't want the sun ever to come up again. And he plays this gigantic pipe organ, and when he plays, out of the pipe organ come clouds, black clouds that fill the sky. And as they fill the sky, rain comes down from them, and it rains everywhere, and it floods the countryside. And he loves that. I mean, he thinks that's really terrific when it just rains. So he's in his element. And this is the guy that Chanticleer has to come home and he has to duel with, and he has to get him out of that country or we're going to just flood the world. So the old owl is, and he's the opposite of Chanticleer. Chanticleer is a rock star. The owl is grand opera. And when he sings, it's the opera sound. So the two of them battle it out in any way that they can. They stand for different worlds.
I positively loathe rock and roll.
Let me be your rooster and let me roost with you. Let me be your rooster, let me hear your sweet voice coo. Girl, you've thrown me for a loop. Well, you're the #1 chick in this chicken coop.
An animated film is actually takes a long time to produce. Maybe 2 years, and if you're fortunate and you have enough good people, you can do it in a year and a half. But bear in mind that, first of all, it's many thousands of little pieces that all have to come together and be a unified whole, a motion picture that will go into the theater, that will excite an audience, let them feel something. So it has to feel like it has the signature of one person on it, and not like 350 people were making it. So it takes constant caring for, constant fathering, constant vigilance, talking to people all the time, comparing ideas, comparing notes, comparing points of view. And we do that daily. In fact, that's what I do all day long as a director, is I go to every department and I say, okay, now what color are you coloring that? Because those, I don't think, are the right colors for the emotion of that scene. Why don't we go back and try and experiment? Let's try, since it's an angry scene, let's try putting a lot of this in reds. You're coloring this blue, and blue's not going to work, so we do a lot of adjusting.
What is it the director is looking for? Does he want it to be?
He wants it really hot. So I was looking at a couple of these colors here. I don't know whether they would be too hot or whether to go hotter again.
So it's been wrapped all the way around, both sides.
Okay.
You can see it from the back, and I've done both sides here. Okay. You see it.
An exciting member of our cast nowadays is the computer. We use wavefront computers here right now, and they're doing a great deal of the drawing for us. Not so much in the acting part of the drawing, where the characters do a great deal of the emotional part of the acting, but in anything that might be a prop or a vehicle or anything that has to change in perspective at all. We used to spend hours trying to figure out that perspective. Nowadays what we do is plot that all into the computer, and then we move it around in the computer and actually make it move in towards the camera, and once we get all that working in the machine and we look at it on the screen, we say that's good, and we just push a button, we say print that, and it prints it out on paper.
Let's get away, you and me together,
Larry, what's with the snow here? Take 5, everybody. And Miss Pheasant, how about a smile? Oh, it's supposed to be summer for crying out loud.
May I talk to you?
Honey, don't pay no mind. You're gonna do just fine.
Yeah, but...
Now, no buts about it, honey.
I've done something awful.
What is it, baby? Tattoo, snipes, peepers. Goldie, where'd you get this?
From you, that night we first met.
They were here?
They're still here.
Oh, why didn't you tell me?
Because she wasn't supposed to.
I believe that all of us are children inside, and so we really never outgrow the need for something that's fantasy. Something that we can forget that we're adults and that we have to deal with the world's problems, and and all of our problems of earning a living and taking care of our children and our families. So we can go out and just get into a fantasy for a little while. Animation does that so well because it isn't what you see around you all the time. And the characters are usually animals. They're very much like the fairy tales that we grew up on when we really were little children. And so we kind of go back to our childhood for a moment, and you get to relive moments of that, and those are the magic moments of our lives. And animation does that better than any other medium.